guys, what's going on? Thank you so much for watching today and welcome to another Prehistoric Kingdom speed build video. In today's video, we are finally getting the very first episode of our project for early access. This project is going to be referred to as Pangea Park, and in this episode we are doing the kind of main entrance layout area as well as adding the first dinosaur, being the Dryosaurus, the little feathered guy. I thought it was absolutely adorable and I thought it fit perfect as kind of like a first entrance animal, one of the smaller animals that will be in this park, and so I thought it would just fit perfectly. We actually started this way long ago, and I do have to apologize for the absence and the delay in videos. For those of you that are following the channel, you'll know I went to Florida. I had a wonderful vacation. We went to a couple different zoos. We went to Disney World and Animal Kingdom and just had an overall relaxing vacation. But unfortunately, and we're pretty sure in Disney World is where I caught it, I finally caught COVID. I have not had it the entire, last 2 years that it's been prevalent around the world. I have not gotten it. Fortunately, I'm fully vaccinated and boosted, but it was still a pretty bad flu-like symptoms and sicknesses for me, and it totally knocked me on my butt for over a week. I am still recovering from it, so if my voice seems a little off, if I seem a little tired, that is why, because I am so surprised with the amount of fatigue that I've been feeling, even after being, quote-unquote better. I go back to work in 2 days, so that'll be the end of my quarantine, and I'll be able to get back to life and business as usual. But man, it was not a fun time. So that is why videos have been so sparse and kind of delayed, but I've been doing my best behind the scenes to keep working on things and get a few more builds done so that I can kind of get back on the ball and get these videos rolling. Speaking of that, another thing that I've been doing behind the scenes is getting our little merch shop all set up and done, and we now have 2 different sticker designs up there. If you guys haven't checked it out yet, the link is down below, and up on the screen are the 2 different sticker designs that we have. One is the adorable little red panda that is permanently tired. The newest design is a Smilodon cub, and I decided to do the Smilodon cub after I saw the Smilodon in Prehistoric Kingdom because it's absolutely adorable. My favorite animal by far in the game, and I thought doing a little Smilodon cub would be super cute. And so hopefully you guys do like those designs. Again, link is down below to my website, so you can go to the little storefront and get your very own sticker. Everything supports the channel and the videos that are made here, and I greatly do appreciate it. You guys have no idea how supportive you've been in just the last few weeks, but overall we are at 13,500 subscribers, which is just a phenomenal number to be at, just so much more than I ever expected, so thank you. So that kind of self-promotion turned into thank you so much for the support. I really do appreciate it. But let's go ahead and get back to the build. So here we are working on the kind of main entrance area, it's a little like covered pavilion style thing, I guess, if you want to call it that. I was using inspiration off of the Singapore Zoo. The Singapore Zoo has this kind of big covered area with all these vertical little line beams, and that's kind of where I got that from. It's not, by no means is going to be a one-to-one replication or anything like that. We're just taking inspiration, but figured that this kind of modern theme would work really well. 1, because it's a theme that I enjoy building in, but 2, it really fits the pieces that we have in game. Right now with the limited pieces and it being only early access, we don't have too much to pull from. More pieces will be coming to the game in future updates, but as of right now, everything that we have is pretty modern. There are some like tropical kind of textures, but not very many. So it just is very easy to build in this modern style. And some of you, it may remind you of River Rock Zoo, which is by no mistake, that is a style I clearly love building in, and we did that in Planet Zoo. So that's kind of what we're bringing over to Prehistoric Kingdom. simply because I enjoy building in that style. But yeah, so we're going to do a little entrance area here. You walk up and it splits around this kind of rock area. We're getting to the very end of what we did on stream, and in total, I actually had to cut this episode without finishing too many of the little details. Again, it's a project, so we still definitely will be back in and building more and adding more, but for this first episode, I was about 3.5 hours, 4 hours worth of work in. Granted, I build a lot slower when we're on stream, so that was part of it, but I had to cut it because otherwise this episode would be ridiculously long. As of right now, it's about 24 minutes or so, and I do try to keep all my episodes between like 20 and 30 minutes, so it's kind of right in the middle of that little time that I aim for. But anyway, so I cut it off so that there wouldn't be a super, super long episode, but it also gives us more to work on later. The scaling tools in this game really are phenomenal, and I am loving them so much, but the one thing that they do is they are very time consuming. Because I'm capable of scaling things and making a whole bunch of custom stuff, I kind of feel like I have to make all these little details and really go in and kind of work on things and make them, like I said, super detailed, whereas in other games I kind of don't feel that pressure because there's a little bit more of a limit on what can and can't be done. But with Prehistoric Kingdom having such a limited item palette anyway, everything can be built customized, and it's just time consuming. So here we're working on little ticket booths where you would go up and actually purchase your ticket. So then from here you would take your ticket and go over to the little ticket, like a teller, I guess. What are the ticket taker people? The people that work in the park where you actually like the... I'm totally forgetting what they're called, my goodness. But anyway, this is where you buy your ticket, and where you redeem your ticket is going to be over off to the left. We haven't quite gotten there yet. But what I'm impressed with is we actually do some railing here in just a second, and we kind of outline the kind of queue where you would line up for your tickets, and the guests actually don't walk through these. They were navigating around them. When I hit play, the guests were kind of walking up and down this little line area, and I thought that was pretty cool that they actually recognized the modular pieces. For those of you that are unaware with Prehistoric Kingdom, they can actually walk on the modular items as a path. So this whole front entrance area, all the concrete that you're seeing, there is actually no pathing laid underneath it. It is just purely the modular pieces, and they walk on and navigate on just the pieces themselves, which actually makes building a bit easier, that you don't have to deal with the paths. And if you want to make things like bridges or incline or stairs or anything like that, the guests can just go ahead and walk on the modular pieces without you having to run a path underneath it. So I thought that was pretty cool. That's probably what we'll use the majority of the time through the park, just because it is nice and easy, and I like easy. Right here we're working on a little bit of a ticket sign, so just implied tickets and prices. I do use the big font pieces and spell out the word ticket. You can see me starting it here. With the scale tools, you can take this and shrink it all the way down and make it fit on the sign, which is pretty cool. If I wanted to, I could spend the time and I could list out different ticket types and prices and actually have the sign be legible, but I didn't feel like that level of detail was really needed. I kind of like the implied signs. They kind of give a character to builds that I really do tend to enjoy. We're almost done kind of working out the front entrance area. I end up adding a bathroom from the prefab menu and kind of adding that over off to the side. You can see this is where you would redeem your tickets, whatever those people are called. You guys can let me know down below because I am completely drawing a blank. But here are the bathrooms, and so this would be like the main entrance plaza. Over to the left in just a minute is where we're going to start the Dryosaurus Habitat. habitat. So the reason that I put the Dryosaurus at the very front is, one, because they're a smaller dinosaur, they're an adorable dinosaur, and so I thought that they would make a good first animal for this park, but I also wanted it to be like when you walk up, there is something that you can look at before you even get into the park itself. So, you know, if mom and dad are going over to buy tickets, kids can go look at the dinosaurs, or, you know, mom can go buy tickets, dad can take the kids to go look at the dinosaurs so they don't have to wait in line or something like that. And it's just a really good kind of like, look at what the park has, you know, come on in, look at our dinosaurs. So the enclosure itself is kind of half in the park, half out of the park. The habitat itself is not finished either. I started to kind of do a little backstage area that needs to be finished, but I basically made the Dryosaurus lock out. So when the keepers need to go in the habitat, they're going to pull the Dryosauruses into the lockout, and that way they can go into the enclosure without having any direct contact with them. But first, we're making this little fence. This is going to be the guest fence that keeps them a little bit of a distance away from the actual habitat itself. I got this inspiration from Disney World, I believe it was. I took a picture of a whole bunch of different fences while I was walking around the park, which is the best thing I've ever done. I think I mentioned this either already in a video or a video that you will see, but I took a picture of a bunch of random fences, and I've been using them ever since to pull inspiration from and build fences in some of my projects. So that's where that came from. Simple little fence, but it works. We kind of sink the Dryosaurus habitat down just a little bit, and that way the animals are slightly below the level where the guests are. They can get a good view of them wherever they are in the habitat. And then we're going to go around and kind of do some planting with the mulch. One thing that I really like about both the mulch and also the kind of chain link fences, or the metal mesh pieces, is they're not, how do I describe this? Because I'm awful at like actual video game or development terms or anything like that. So the pattern is not painted like on the object itself. It's almost like the pattern is set to the world map, and you're kind of moving the object around, and the pattern doesn't necessarily move with it. That's the best I can do. Hopefully you guys know what I'm talking about, but it makes for really easily being able to place the object without getting that tiling that you would get with some other objects, because the pattern changes wherever you put the actual item. You don't get this like repeated texture thing so bad. And I really like that. It makes it really easy. It makes it very simple to be able to make like these planter things. The chain link or the mesh, when we actually get to the aviary build part for the Dryosaurus habitat, makes it incredibly easy. The scaling makes it really easy to make all those weird triangular bits and pieces, and there's no kind of overlapping or Z-fighting or anything like that. It's great. It's awesome. Otherwise I wouldn't have tried a build like that, because it just ends up being a headache. But being able to scale it and the way the mesh works makes it really, really easy. And you guys will see what I mean when I get there. I do actually cut some of that out because it did take me a really long time, so it's still tedious, but very easy to do, just time consuming. And I think now we're going to start on the Dryosaurus habitat. Yeah, we're going to start on the Dryosaurus habitat here. I was looking at a couple of different prefabs. The devs have done a really wonderful job at building stuff themselves and putting it in the game for you to use, and they're beautiful pieces. Like the bathroom that I used was built by the devs, and some other little things, like there's a backstage building, there was that little stairs, like a viewing platform that was built by them. All wonderful stuff. So it's great to have those in there if you are picking up the game and you are not necessarily wanting to build piece by piece or super detailed yourself. You can go ahead and use those prefabs and build pretty things with minimal effort. But anyway, we are doing just a very simple chain link or mesh, I guess, enclosed aviary. I wanted to make this a completely enclosed exhibit, my thought being that it's at the very front of the park, and Although basically every enclosure is going to need to pay special attention to safety and security because we don't want any dinosaurs escaping in our park. An enclosure that is right smack dab at the front of the park would need to be extra secure, I think, just to make sure that, you know, if the animal for some reason was able to escape, they're right there next to the parking lot, next to the road, they're able to get off the property, and that would be very, very bad. So that was kind of my thought, is that it would need to be extra secured. And I mean, with dinosaurs, really, extra security is, I don't think, ever an overreaction. I think as anything has taught us, any dinosaur movie, they all kind of escape and start eating people. So I don't think we could ever be careful enough with the security. But I'm really happy with how the shape of this one turned out. I wanted to make it not just a square, so I wanted to make the shape a little bit interesting, but I also wanted the roof not to be, you know, not 90 degrees with the wall. So you can see here the aviary is kind of leaning up, but the ability to take these pieces and scale them all together. So like the little panels that I built, you can scale those together, not just individual pieces, makes this very easy to kind of put together. Time consuming, but very easy. So you can see here, this is where I'm taking the mesh and kind of resizing it. And as I move it, it kind of moves, the pattern stays where it is, and it kind of moves around with a pattern that's kind of attached to the world map, not necessarily the piece. But this is where I'm going to cut it out. It's going to cut here any second because this took me a while. This probably took me close to an hour itself to kind of finish up everything and fill in all these little gaps on the other side of the habitat as well, because the aviary is pretty irregularly shaped and it's not symmetrical on all sides, so it does take me quite a bit. But again, very, very happy with how it turned out. On the inside of the habitat, we do tend to keep it relatively plain looking. I'm still going with kind of like a temperate style for a lot of these habitats. I need to look into kind of where some dinosaurs are found or where they might have lived to get a better idea of some of their habitat needs. But overall, I do want this to be kind of more of a temperate kind of scrubland, maybe with a little bit of tropical mixed in here and there with the park overall. Definitely lots of foliage, because I imagine that a dinosaur park would be very lush and overgrown in some places. But I use those rocks in the middle of the fence for the aviary to give a little bit more interest to it and to give kind of a backdrop. So this is where the backstage building would be. This is the little lockout that I was talking about before, where you can see this is the door the keepers would get in to the actual habitat, and then I put a door into the lockout so wherever the animals aren't, the keepers could be. And then this is, again, where the backstage building would be. So those rocks kind of give a barrier so that the guests can't see all the way into the backstage area. I do need to build an actual building because it's not the ideal plan to have these doors just kind of out into the wilderness or have this all be kind of open. I want to concrete it and kind of fence it in and do some backstage stuff, but I figured that would be something we would leave for another episode, considering that I was kind of running out of time. But here is the door that we're making. This is going to be an automated, so mechanical door that, you know, there would be a button somewhere and they could open it up. It would slide over to the right, and this would be what would let the Dryosauruses in and out of their lockouts. So just an automated guillotine, basically. It's not a guillotine though, because it's not attached with a metal wire or anything like that you have to pull on, but rather, like I said, an automated door that you could press a button and it would open up. And this is where they could put the dinosaurs in and then go in, clean their habitat, fill their food, whatever else they need to do with the dinosaurs, and then let them back out. I have no idea or concept if a Dryosaurus would be dangerous or not. I'm just kind of under the opinion that basically all the dinosaurs, I think, would be dangerous, because I just feel like dinosaurs themselves are dangerous because, I don't know, we don't have them in zoos. They're all, you know, extinct, so we don't really know too much about how they would interact with people. The Dryosauruses, you know, being an herbivore, probably would be more on the friendlier side, but just with their size, I feel like they could pose a threat to keepers. So I thought it better just to make sure that this habitat would function with with protected contact so that you don't have to come into open contact with them, just to keep all of our keepers safe. Again, in this park, we are going to take safety to the extreme and make sure that everybody is set up for success. We have no escaping dinosaurs and no fatalities. I know it has nothing to do with the actual game. That's just kind of how I am thinking about playing it, and keeping that in mind when I'm doing these builds. Other than that, we are placing lots and lots of rocks to surround the habitat in. You guys know how much I love placing rocks, and I had a lot of fun with this. I do some pace marks in the habitat, so using the different terrain paint to kind of show you where the Dryosauruses would be walking around in the habitat, and kind of using logs and plants, I forgot the word for plants, logs and plants and rocks and things to make it that they look like they were walking around them. Oh, and apparently I forgot to do this as well. I was looking at the entrance area and realizing that it kind of wasn't really connected. It didn't really look supported, so I added a couple more little support beams around, and then also some decoration in the middle there. We're going to take these vertical beams like we have in the front, and we're going to push them to the back and lower them down as like a little decorative wall area. Again, very easy because I can just select them all and then scale them up and fit them into place perfectly, and then do a little planter here, which kind of mimics the planter that's outside the Dryosaurus habitat. But again, just trying to bring the greenery all over the place, and that way it looks like a very pretty habitat, and it's not just open bits of concrete and stuff all over the place. The guests, again, do recognize this, so they do not spend time walking through it. They walk around it, which is phenomenal. I don't have to put anything down to tell them to do so. They just recognize it right away and don't walk into it, which is really nice. Sometimes they walk really, really close to it, but they don't walk through it. So that is, that's great, so that they don't walk or tramps through our plants. But yeah, you guys, that is pretty much it. Let me know what you think about the project overall, and let me know if you yourself have picked up Prehistoric Kingdom. Are you waiting to see what else comes to the game? Have you pulled the trigger and are enjoying it so far? Have you pulled the trigger and there's things that you're missing? Let me know what you think, because I really haven't heard too much from anybody playing the game that's not a content creator, so I'm really interested to hear what you guys think of the game, what your wants and needs would be if you haven't picked up the game, what would make you want to pick up the game, all that kind of stuff. So let me know down in the comments below what you're thinking. If you enjoyed this habitat, of course I would love to hear that as well, and any comments or suggestions or feedback for future episodes, would love to hear that as well. As we get to the very end cinematics here and finish up just a couple more details on the inside of this habitat, you guys know the normal spiel. If you loved the video, if you enjoyed it, do leave a like and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on any future content. I'm on Twitter and Discord and TikTok and Instagram and basically all the social media platforms. Those links are down below as well if you want to follow me everywhere. On Discord, we do share a bunch of inspiration photos. If you want to show off what you're building, there is a dedicated Prehistoric Kingdom channel that you can do so in. If you need help or advice, we're also there for that as well. But we're going to get into some of the end cinematics, kind of show off what the overall build looks like, and I will see you guys in the next episode. Thank you guys so much for watching. Bye!